Shalom Aleichem, meine liebe Freund. Ich heiße Mottel Didner und das ist 15 Minuten Yiddish. Mehr weniger. Jede Woche bringen wir euch eine Mini-Lektie in Jiddisch Sprach und Kultur von dem nationalen Jiddisch-Theater Volksbühne. Welcome back to 15-Minute Yiddish. If you missed any of our past episodes, die genisht. You can view them all online at nytf.org. Today, we will begin our journey into reading and writing Yiddish using Hebrew letters. We'll spend the next 6 weeks learning the Aleph base, a few letters at a time, and then we'll put it all together. I know that many of you already know how to read and write using the Hebrew alphabet, and you may wish to join us anyway because we'll still be learning new words and other topics about Yiddish language and culture. But if you're a real maven and you wish to skip these lessons, then please rejoin us for episode 8 when we talk about Lashon Kodesh.
Bottle, ich will episode.
Adarabe.
Well, I really prefer transliteration. It's easy, and I never learned the Hebrew alphabet.
A lot of Yiddish learners feel this way, which is why we've been using only transliteration for things like the subtitles so far. But to continue learning Yiddish at a more advanced level, you'll need to be able to read articles and poetry and stories, and to look up words that you don't know in a dictionary. There's not much literature available in transliteration, and the few existing transliterated dictionaries do not have nearly the word count of the dictionaries that use the Hebrew alphabet. So, stick with it, and I think in about 6 weeks you'll find that reading and writing using the Hebrew alphabet won't be nearly as painful as you think. Maskim?
Maskim.
Gut. Lass mir anheben mit dem Wort wegen dem Aleph Base. Professor?
Die frühere hebräische Aleph Base kommt von dem Jahr 800 vor der jetzigen Zeitrechnung und es ist gewähnt zu dem Aleph Base von die Phöniker insofern von Eretz Yisrael. Später in die Tag von Goles Bovel haben die Jiden angehoben zu nutzen dem Aleph Base von Aramäisch, was ist euch nahen zum Phönikischen. Und mit der Zeit hat der Stil sich geändert, bis es ist gekommen zu dem Form, was wir kennen heint. Also wie die anderen Aleph-Basen von die Völker, was reden semitische Sprachen, schreibt man und lernt man von rechts auf links. In Goles haben die Jiden geschrieben etliche jiddische Sprachen mit dem hebräischen Aleph-Base. Yiddish, Ladino, Jiddisch-Arabisch und Jiddisch-Farsi schreibt man mit dem hebräischen Aleph Base.
Dank, Professor. As with most languages, there is a printed form of the language as well as a handwritten form. As with Latin block letters versus cursive, the letters may have very little resemblance to each other, and the cursive can also have great variation depending on the time period and the country. We will learn both block letters and the modern version of cursive letters, but it can still be very difficult for you to read handwritten letters that your parents and your grandparents may have saved. This is its own area of training and expertise. There are specialists within the Yiddishist community who decipher and translate handwriting. Now, my penmanship is not very good in English or in Yiddish. So, to learn how to write the letters, let's see which student has the best handwriting. Please copy this in your neatest handwriting. Hinde, Mazel Tov, das ist a so schön.
Oh, A dank.
I will ask you to please be our official handwriting expert.
Mit dem größten Vergnügen.
Hebrew is written using primarily consonants, and this is true of Hebrew words appearing in Yiddish as well. Here, for example, is the word chaver. Notice it's spelled using only a ches, a vase, and a resh. There are no letters indicating the a or the e sounds.
Well, how do they know that that doesn't say chivor or chuver?
They just know because of their familiarity with the language. Here's an experiment. Can you read this?
What does this say?
Exactly. We took out all the vowels, but you're so familiar with English that you could decipher these letters to make sense of it.
Oh, I see.
But it does make it much harder for someone who does not speak the language and is trying to learn.
When I was learning Hebrew for my bar mitzvah, there were vowels, but there weren't any when I actually read from der Teure.
Yes, for students who are learning Hebrew, there are vowels in the form of diacritical marks. So in a Hebrew textbook, the word chaver might appear looking like this. Yiddish does use some diacritical marks to differentiate the ways that vowels can be pronounced. The good news is, for the most part, Yiddish is spelled phonetically, and there are letters which are designated as vowels. They're used in spelling words of Germanic, Slavic, and Latin origin, as well as new words which have entered into Yiddish in modern times. It's only Hebrew and Aramaic words which are not spelled phonetically, and that helps you to identify these words when you come across them. Sometimes in Yiddish literature, you will come across a Lashon Kodesh word, which you won't be able to find in a Yiddish dictionary, but you might find it in a Hebrew dictionary. Just be careful, because sometimes a word in modern Hebrew doesn't mean exactly the same thing as it does in a biblical context or how it's used in Yiddish. Lemoshel, if you come across this word, tlia, a gallow, think of Haman. If you took this word tlia and put it in a Hebrew translator, you would get suspension or hanging, which is certainly related to a gallow, but it might be confusing if you are trying to figure out what Haman built. Now, let's take a look at our first group of letters. This is an Aleph, and it comes in 3 flavors. Come on down and get your Aleph here, folks. It's the first letter in the Aleph base, now available in 3 flavors. The first variety is called a Stummer Aleph. This is a silent letter. Stum means silent.
Hey, Mo'o, what do we need a letter for if it don't make a sound?
Excellent question. Some of our letters pull double duty as both a consonant and a vowel.
Oh, like sometimes why?
Exactly. When the first sound in a word is one of these letters as a vowel, it is preceded by a Stummer Aleph at the beginning of the word to indicate that the following letter should not be pronounced as a consonant. In English, we end certain words with a silent E to tell us how to pronounce the vowel that precedes it. And in Yiddish, we sometimes start a word with a silent Aleph to tell us how to pronounce a vowel that follows it. Spoiler alert, we'll come back to this when we get to Vav and Yud. The second flavor of Aleph is the Pasach Aleph, and it makes the sound ah. Although the words are not linguistically related, it might help you to remember that der Pas means a line, a stripe, or a belt. Die Passen in the plural. The third flavor is Kometz Aleph, and it is pronounced all.
So, what's a kometz?
Kometz refers to the vowel mark. Let's try this out. Professor, what sound does this make?
Ah.
Sehr gut. Wayne, what about this letter? Oh. Ausgezeichnet. Murray, what sound does this letter make?
I ain't saying nothing.
Gut. Hinde, sei es euch gut und weis uns, wie es euch zu schreiben Aleph, Passach Aleph und Komets Aleph.
Ot is stummer Aleph? Well, that's funny. There's a guy in my building named Aleph. Lives in apartment 1C.
Oh, a Welt mit Weltelach.
Ot is a Passach Aleph. Und das is Komets Aleph.
A Dank, Hinde. Up next we have base, which makes the sound ba. When we put it together with a vowel, we get Sophia.
That spells bo, darling.
Good. And how about this one? Wayne. Ba. Sehr gut. A base with a pasech above it is a vase, and it is pronounced v. There are no words which begin with this letter, and if you see it, that is an indication that it is a word which comes from Lashon Kodesh. We do have another letter that is more commonly used to make the v sound. And note that a vase can be pronounced sometimes like a f, especially when it is not followed by a consonant. This word is ganef, but the plural is ganovim. Over to you, Hinda.
Das is a base. Und das is a vase.
A Dank, Hinde. Next we have Gimmel, which makes the sound g.
Oh, I know that one from the dreidel.
Indeed you do. Now, let's try putting these three letters together. Gimmel, Kometz Aleph, base. Professor?
Gob.
Sehr gut. And that is our first real word. Die Gob means a gift. Die Gobben in the plural. You don't hear this word used very often. Much more commonly you'll hear the word matone. Sophia. Base, Pasach Aleph, Gimmel. Kometz Aleph, base.
Bagob.
Good. That is the first person singular of the verb bagobm. Let's do verb time. Bagobm is a regular verb in the present tense, and although we've already learned all of the letters in the stem of this verb, we haven't yet learned the letters that form the endings. Deigenisht, there'll be transliteration. Let's take a look. Ich bagob. Du bagobst. Sie es bagobt. Mir bagobn. Ihr bagobt. Sie bagobn. Alle zusammen. Ich bagob. Du bagobst. Sie es bagobt. Mir bagobn. Ihr bagobt. Sie bagobn. Sehr, sehr gut. The past tense is irregular. Hobn bagobt. There is no GE or Gimmel Ayin prefix. Hinde, wie soll schreibt man a Gimmel?
Ot is a Gimmel.
A Dank, Hinde. Next we have Dalid, which makes the sound duh. Scott, what would this word be? Base, Kometz Aleph, Dalid.
Bod.
Ja. Die Bod means a bathhouse. Die Beder in the plural. Hinde, kennst du schreiben a Dalid?
Dalid.
A Dank, Hinde. And our last letter for today is hey. Hey makes the sound h. What is this word, Wayne? Hey, Kometz Aleph, Base.
Oh, hob, like ich hob.
Ausgezeichnet. Hinde.
Und hey.
Sometimes you'll see the letter hey appear at the end of a word. This is another indication that you've got a Lashon Kodesh word. A hey at the end of the word indicates that there is an unwritten vowel, as in the word kale, a bride. Those are the first 5 letters of our Aleph base, and it's a lot to take in. Practice writing these letters, and you can write them in different combinations to see what sounds they make. They don't need to be real words, but the repetition will help you to recognize the letters when you see them and to get them into your muscle memory when you want to write them. Next week, we'll take a look at Vav, Zayin, Ches, Tes, Yud, Kof, and the ever-popular Chof. And then we'll be able to spell a lot more words. Derweil, seid gesund alle.